Welcome everyone to Dead Talk Live. Tonight we are being joined by Juliana Aidén Martinez and Altorro Prince Black from the movie Boundary that is now streaming on video on demand. Guys, thank you so much for being our guest tonight. How are you both doing?
Super good. Glad to be here.
Doing wonderful. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Oh, thank you for being here. And we're going to be talking about the movie. Like I said, it's called Boundary, and let's just deep dive right into it. I'm going to start with you, Juliana. Boundary is a crime thriller drama revolving around sort of ex, not so ex hitman and a corrupt customs agent. Now, you play Emily Massey, who is the wife of the main lead, Michael Massey. Um, how did you envision your character when you first read the script? I mean, how did you see Emily, which is your character's name, and what was your approach on how you were going to play her?
Yeah, I think that when I originally read the script, um, I think many people there was a trap I saw in reading the script. The first time reading it, there was an initial trap I saw in playing someone in which they were the submissive wife,
Mm,
and I think that Emily, what was really interesting to me is the strength and the kind of the tenacity she has to want to have the marriage that she's seeking, the stability that she's seeking, the trust that she's seeking from Michael. There's a strength to Emily that I didn't want to kind of wash away, and I think that Emily is as much of a fighter as her husband is,
you
and I
know,
wanted to do something like that.
Joe, I don't know if you feel the same way, but Emily is a very intriguing character because we see her be resentful towards Michael. We see her softer, gentler side to try to appeal to Michael.
Yes.
And we see you also raise a gun to him as well. So
Yeah.
She
I
does.
think Emily's a very strong character. We're going to dissect her some more. Altura, I want to ask you, how would you
Yes.
describe your character James's relationship with Michael Massey?
You know, I would say where James is Michael's best friend. Actually, Juliana and I have a scene in the film where I come to the front door and I'm like, "Hey, I'm here to see James." You actually won't see that scene because it got cut, but her and I, and we and Michael and we go way back, so we're
Mm-hmm.
best friends in the film. And one of the major issues in the film is what happens when best friends bump heads, and I think that we've all gone through that, in different ways,
Mm-hmm.
in real life. So the way I see my character relating to Michael is, he and James are best friends, and we're working through our own issues while they're working through their own issues.
Exactly. And one thing about James's character that I find really interesting is it's very mysterious for the first two acts, okay? And then towards the third act, we start to learn more and we get to see that deep friendship that was there that is teetering. It is that friendship is teetering on a knife's edge, you could say, by the third act of the movie. Now,
Yes.
Juliana, the conversation that Emily, your character, and Michael have when we first get to see you in the movie in the attic, that is
Yeah.
a very important conversation as it sets up the dynamics of the marriage between Emily and Michael. Um, do you think Emily has any idea of Michael's, quote unquote, hitman professional status?
That's such a good question. I feel like Emily has, when you have a very close relationship, either it be a lover, a partner, someone that you're very close to, and you have a sense that
Yeah.
something is wrong. Like you sense that there is something missing. I think that Emily has a sensation, but I don't think she knows. I mean, It was something definitely toggling back and forth of being like, would I know? And I think that there's a obviously I think there's a nuance to everything, but I do think that Emily maybe has a sense,
Yeah,
but doesn't know exactly what it is.
I got the feeling of a don't ask, don't tell type of thing. You know,
Yeah,
I know, just let's not talk about it. Do you think, in regards to Michael wanting to leave that life behind and not
exactly.
being able to because of a character named Douglas, how big of a factor does Emily play in that? Of him wanting to leave that life behind? And we're going to get to some of the other tragedies you guys suffered as well. But as far as your character and your marriage, how much of a
Yeah.
factor is it to Michael?
Of like deciding to leave that life behind.
Wanting to leave that life behind and
Yeah.
focus on his family.
I mean, I definitely think that that is probably more of like how much it was a factor for him, but I do think for Emily it was definitely an ultimatum of sorts of like you're either we need to change our life in
Hmm.
order to move forward and to have some kind of lasting relationship, or this is going to combust. And I think in the beginning of the film you really see that kind of tension of like there's certain dynamics and things that are unsaid that I think is rife in their relationship from the start.
Absolutely, I completely agree. Altoro, your guys' relationship, James's and Michael, it comes to a head in that very crucial scene in the storage facility. A
Yes.
lot is revealed there. What do you think is going through James's mind as Michael pulls the gun on him with his back turned?
What's going through James's mind is obviously,
That's number one.
because as someone who's been around, we're talking about the character now. As someone who's been around James, who's been around, guns and violence and gunplay, when you hear, the hammer action of a piece, so to speak. So, and the way he hears it and the way the gun is introduced, it's he's not surprised, but at the same time, he's surprised that it's his best friend. And really, what it is, we go back to it. We mentioned it earlier. It's like, okay, we're gonna have this chit chat now.
Yeah.
We've been going back and forth. You think I did this? I think you did that. We're supposed to be best friends. Now you want to do this? You want to do this here? You want to do this now? Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it.
And that is said when you tell him, I guess we're done, like packing or something like that.
I
it's
do love that in the trailer. I guess we're ready to move boxes.
I like that as well. Now, Juliana, Emily and Michael, as we learned throughout the film in small bits and pieces, suffered a loss in their marriage previously. How do you prepare to play a character, a mother who had gone through something as terrible as that as an actress? How do you prepare for that?
Um, can't give away all my secrets, but I think that like no, like in all seriousness, I think that it's creating the story of like what that would be to make it real. Um, I think I actually just did a project in which I was a mom as well, and there was a different kind of loss, and it was interesting kind of revisiting that. And there's no love, I think, as a mother's love.
Yeah,
There's just I don't know a love that is so unconditional and deep and all encompassing. And I think it forces, at least speaking for myself, it forces a kind of widening of compassion and empathy and like how much you can withhold in your body and like the immense love that you have for another human being. And Emily, I think, has that as well. And with that ability to hold so much love, she also has, in equal measure, the ability to hold so much grief.
yeah.
And it was definitely creating that story together, I would say, and then kind of not thinking about it when we got there. But it's something that as we all do, it stays with us. It kind of
Yeah.
hangs in the air. It it sinks in our muscles. It's just always ever presently there.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think if Emily was not pregnant, that she would still be with Michael?
It's a great question.
And the only reason I ask that is because in that scene where you are pointing the gun at him, you
Yeah.
mentioned a second chance. You guys are getting a second chance, and how you don't want him to mess it up again. And that's the
Mhm.
reason why I ask you that question. Is she staying more with Michael for this unborn baby, or does she actually still love him a little bit somewhere deep inside?
I mean, I think it's a mixture of both, but I do think that baby is kind of an all or nothing at that point.
Yeah.
I do think that baby is like, if this is our second chance, and if you ruin this, like this is over. And I do think it is a kind of where people have a baby to kind of save the marriage. I think there is a dynamic of that in play.
Yeah.
That because she got pregnant, there is new life, there is a possibility for new life and opportunity. And then the series of events that happens in the film just keep striking those new chances down.
Yeah, yeah, I do agree with you. Okay, now Altura, let's get to Douglas. Okay, he is the bad guy. I mean,
Yes.
no doubt about it. We learn a lot about his relationship with Michael, but his relationship with James is sort of kind of fuzzy a little bit. Um, I mean, when it first off, let's call this part A to the question. How did you see James's relationship to Douglas?
Complicated because what we see in the film is we see Michael processing his issues with Douglas. We see Douglas getting involved um, with Michael, and then James, myself, and then now that James is involved with this whole Douglas Michael problem, it's time for James to figure out what he's going to do.
Yeah,
So that's something that I liked in the film because it's not very linear. I don't like when films spoon feed it to you. Like
oh
they
yeah,
tell you exactly what to think and exactly what's going to happen next. And that's something that I do like about this film. You don't necessarily know what's going to happen next. I mean, you're taken along with the characters, and the
Uh,
way James deals with Douglas, works with Douglas, you see that James is having his own issues with Douglas as well, because Douglas is this enigma,
exactly.
and everyone's playing off of each other. And then you just have these different, possible sparks that can fly at any time because, you know, Emily's vulnerable, Michael's vulnerable, James is vulnerable, and then there's accidents that are happening.
Yeah,
Who did this? Who did that? We have, home issues. So
and that's
yeah,
why
I
I
think it
love.
really.
I'm sorry.
Say again.
I said that's why I love asking the actors who play these characters when we go into these deep dive questions because you're playing a character, you're bringing that character to life, and I'm asking you to separate yourself from that. And
Yes.
like when you're viewing the film, and okay, you're seeing yourself, and you sort of remove, okay, that's a character, that's not who I really am, and
Mm-hmm.
getting your guys' opinion on that character and the motivations that went behind it and bringing it to life. I think that's just awesome to hear. When it comes to Douglas, I do have another question. He really is a bad, bad dude. Do you think throughout the whole film he is just pitting James and Michael, two best friends, like you say, against each other, and he doesn't care who kills who?
Do I think that he's pitting them against each other?
Yeah, like he doesn't care if Michael kills James or kills Michael. For
You know
him,
what Douglas is? Douglas is a person that we all have in our life. We all have a Douglas. That person that just doesn't give a beep about anybody, right?
yeah,
And and hopefully we're not that person. And if we are that person, we have the chance to change. But Douglas is that person. He doesn't care, and when James approaches Douglas with a possible resolution, we get to see what does Douglas do? Does Douglas accept this resolution, or is Douglas loyal? You know,
Yeah.
loyalty is at stake here too. We're talking about marriage loyalty, we got friendship loyalty, best friends, and we have business partnerships loyalty. So there's a lot of nice arcs.
Now, Juliana, I want to end with you on the last question. How long were you guys shooting this film for, from start to finish?
I don't know.
I know it's been a while ago is when you shot it.
It's been a while since we've shot it. But I was in New York at the time, so I would say that they were taking me back and forth a little under a year,
Okay,
maybe.
nice,
Yeah,
nice,
so I would say like maybe a little under a year. I remember it being a span of months because they would take me back and forth.
awesome. And
Yeah.
I really liked how Anthony really developed the character of Emily. In the script, he could have made Emily as sort of a secondary character, but I don't see Emily as a secondary character.
Not at all.
Emily is a very huge factor in the lead character of Michael and what he does and his actions. I want to thank the both of you so much for coming on here and sharing your thoughts and inspirations and motivations behind the characters and Boundary that you guys play. Like I said, guys, Boundary is streaming right now on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Vudu, and Google Play. Check it out. It's a crime thriller drama starring Arturo and Juliana here. Again, thank you to our audience, those of you who are tuning in live and those of you who will be watching this later on. On behalf of Juliana, Arturo, and myself, stay safe and stay walking. Good night, everybody.